Hello everyone. Today our topic is change. I'm sure you've all heard the quote, the only constant is change. And for some of us, we fear change and we try and run from it, and others embrace it and just go with it. And there's some of us that are kind of in the in-between. So what I want to talk to you about is when we know change is coming or when change is happening, what sort of things can we do to kind of help us cope or continue to move forward, and kind of how to understand our reaction or response when we're in the midst of change. Sometimes change happens after a big event, and sometimes that big event can be traumatic or kind of just stops us in our tracks and makes us catch our breath. And so when we're picking ourselves back up after a traumatic event has happened, and our life has completely changed, we sometimes fight it. And a traumatic event can be many different things. It can be a car accident, it can be a hurricane, it can be a heartbreak, it can be divorce, it can be firing at your job. So, those are some of the things that can happen, or that does happen to all of us. And so when change is occurring, or I'll call that unexpected change, we have to really look at what we can do in the midst of kind of going through it. And also, once our life has kind of taken a different direction, how do we kind of heal from and keep moving forward? One of the analogies that I use in therapy is when a baby learns to walk. And you might be asking, what does that have to do with change? It's a process. I don't know if anyone has ever seen a baby walk, or I'm assuming most of you have kind of either experienced having a baby and kind of going through that process, or have had a niece or a nephew or a friend. And so how I relate to change and learning or seeing a baby learn to walk for the first time is this. A baby, oftentimes when they're born, they don't know how to walk, obviously. And so what happens is the baby goes from, you're holding them and they just kind of lie flat on their back, to when they start to learn how to roll over, one side or another, and everyone's so excited that they're finally learning how to roll over. And then the next process, eventually they're learning how to sit up, and they get down on all fours and they start to kind of rock back and forward, and then they start to crawl, and eventually they're also, sometimes around the same time they're crawling, they're also kind of lifting themselves up with support with like a table or with their mom or dad's legs. And then we buy those cute little toys that help them learn how to walk, and it's all like a little wobbly, and eventually one day they let go. And when they let go and they start to walk on their own, usually the first two steps, and then they fall and then they get back up, and from then forward they're walking. And it's an exciting process. It's also a scary process at the same time for the parent. And when I think about change, I think about that process. It's when a big event has happened in your life. It is like you wake up after that event and you kind of just say, wow, I first have to learn, like, what's the first small step in accepting that my life is now different, and what's the first step and what's the second step, and allow yourself to go through that process. When change happens, or when unexpected change happens, it's oftentimes something that we don't want. And part of embracing that change is acceptance. And acceptance is not something that you just jump into. Just like when a baby's born, they just don't walk. Acceptance is sometimes associated with taking time to grieve your old life, or grieve the heartbreak, or grieve the job loss. Acceptance is, or grieving parts of you that have now changed. Also forgiveness. forgiveness, or whatever word you want to use there, but forgiveness is also a part of healing. And letting go. A lot of times when we're in the midst of change, it's this holding on and letting go, where we don't want to let go because we are so afraid of what's next. And what's next is sometimes unpredictable, or it's the unknown. And that's part of fearing change, is that we really we don't know what's next. And if we hold on, we know what's in our past, we know what to expect, we know what to fill in the blank, even when that's not necessarily healthy for us. And and that's also like the baby. If, as a parent, if we keep holding on and we don't let our baby like take that first scary step and also exciting step at the same time, then we're not helping them. We're not allowing them to go through the process that they need to live and to survive. And so in a moment, we let go, and the baby lets go too, and they take that small step forward. When we let go of the loss, whatever that loss is, and we embrace change, we heal, we accept, we give ourselves a little self-love, we find peace. And in the midst of the holding on, or in the midst of grieving the loss, it's hard to see clearly. It's hard to see that, letting go is good. And that's why we go back and forth for so long. But remember, guys, just like that little baby, when they let go, they allow so much that goes into their life by learning how to walk on their own. I know that change can be scary. I know that the unpredictable or the unknown can look scary. However, we have to go through change. If we're not changing, if we're holding on, if we're staying in the same place, we are not moving forward in our lives. We are not healing. We are not making healthy choices. And really, we're not honoring ourselves. So, think about it. If we don't allow, if we're carrying our baby around all the time, if we don't allow our baby to develop the way he or she needs to be, then we're not helping. We're not encouraging life. We're not encouraging this little baby to be who he or she can really be, and help them reach their full potential. And inside, when we go through our own change, or when we go through that unexpected loss, or again, the heartbreak, the loss of a job, whatever change that is happening, if we just hold on, if we are too afraid, if we don't allow us to embrace change and let go, and when we don't honor those parts of ourselves, we don't allow ourselves to grow into the person that we are meant to be. And I really want you to hear that clearly. I know I keep saying it, but if a parent never lets that child make their first step, then they're not growing into who they can be, and into their best, to their best selves. And when we go through change, it sometimes is a rebirth. It is you're stepping into a totally different person. And again, I know that can be scary, but remember the cheesy statement, when one door closes, another one opens. And usually that door is amazing. And, it's not easy, guys. I totally understand and completely agree. It is not easy sometimes to let go, or to embrace change, or to become the person that we're meant to be. And it's heartbreaking sometimes to say goodbye to those old parts of who you were. And it's also I can't even describe it. It's also really incredible, when we grieve, and when we let go and we accept, we do allow incredible things into our lives. I think that we've all been through our own struggles, and there was a time in my life that my struggles, I was so afraid. And when I finally let go, I have really reached my full potential. So I promise this is something, as scary as it might be, it's also something completely amazing. So remember, when change happens, whether it's unexpected or predictable change, it's we have to take time to grieve. We have to take time to forgive, and then allow acceptance into our life. And as we let go and as we accept the really amazing things that enter into our life, we really do become the person that we're meant to be. You know, love yourself, embrace who you are through the change, through the heartbreak, through those difficult moments. Value yourself and believe in yourself. You know, just like when you let go of that baby the first time, or when you see that happen, it's the most beautiful thing that you experience because you see life happening. When you let go, when you allow you to take that step forward, life happens and amazing things happen to you. So don't be afraid to let go. And if you are afraid, it's okay. Take a deep breath and know that it's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to let it paralyze you. But when you take that step forward, when you face your fear, you're allowing amazing things to happen in your life.